Good morning, students. This is Harshal teacher from St. Thomas Bethany Convent School, and today we are going to learn the second part of Stephen Hawking's. Till now, we have seen that how the Stephen Hawking struggling with his diseases, how it is diagnosed with that diseases, the disease called amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. So it is a very dangerous disease. It is related to muscles, and because of that he cannot do his physical movement. And then also he have struggling a lot from for the calligraphy, and he is doing a cosmology, and even the accessible for the diagnosis he has done. And he have written three marvelous book for the for his research, that is a brief history of time, and a universe in a nutshell, a brief history of time second. So in this way he have written his books, and it was highly popular in the public. And after that he have challenged Sir Isaac Newton's belief that the universe had not have been designed by God, simply because it could not have been born from the chaos. So now we'll see the next part of this lesson. Then it is not necessary to evoke God to light the blue touch paper and set the universe going, Hawking said. So it is not like a necessary to evoke the God to light the blue touch paper and set the universe going. At the age of 21, Stephen Hawking was diagnosed with the amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, and that is ALS of Leydig disease. And in a very simple sense, the nerves that control his muscles were shutting down. Okay, so in a very simple language, we can say that the nerves which can control the muscles, that is not working now, that is shutting down. At the time, doctors gave him 2.5 years to live. And at that time, his age was decided that this much life he could live now, that is 2.5 years. Hawking first began to notice problem with his physical health while he was at Oxford. On an occasion, he would trip and fall and slur his speech. He didn't look into the problem until 1963 during his first year at Cambridge. So, first significance of that disease is that he is tripping and falling, and his speech has become slur. And when he was diagnosed the problem, when he was identified the problem in 1963, when he was in first year at Cambridge, for the most part Hawking had kept the symptoms to himself. But when his father took notice of a condition, he took Hawkins to see the doctor. For the next 2 weeks, the 21 years old college student made his home at a medical clinic where he underwent a series of tests. So imagine that only just a 21 year student, college going student, is suffering from the diseases like this. And first these symptoms Hawkins kept himself only, but when his father recognized all these things, he took him to doctor. And imagine that the 21 years college going student made his home like a medical clinic where he is always doing the test. Then they took muscle samples from my arm, stuck electrode into me, and injected some radioactive fluid into my spine, and watched it going up and down with the x-ray as they titled the bed. He once said, "After all that, they didn't tell me what I had, except that it was not multiple sclerosis and that I was a atypical case." Means in that home only, in his home only, all the doctors are doing the taking the test of his body, taking the samples of his muscle, and watch carefully with the x-ray. He They are injected some radioactive fluid into his spinal cord, and after that they are watching through the x-ray how it is working. And after that the doctor never tell Stephen Hawking's that how the multiple sclerosis are there and what is actually, and otherwise it is a atypical case. So atypical case means what? Atypical means a very uncurable case. So like that it is, or what? So in this way he was just doing the test of series for the diagnosis. Then multiple sclerosis means abnormal hardening of body issues, and because of this he cannot control his muscles. Eventually, however, doctor did diagnose Hawking with the early stage of ALS. It was devastating news for him and his family, but a few events prevented him from becoming completely despondent. I mean, diagnosis means dictate of the medical condition, and devastate means destroy or ruin. Means after, before devastating, he is in a early stage of a ALS. And the first of this came while Hawking was still in the hospital, and there he shared a room with a boy suffering from leukemia. Okay, leukemia. What is a leukemia? A malignant progressive disease in which the bone marrow and the other blood forming organs produce increased number of white blood cell. That is called the leukemia. And relative to what his roommate was going through, and Hawking later reflected his situation seemed more tolerable. Not long after he was released from the hospital, Hawking had a dream that he was going to be executed. He said this dream made him realize that there were still things to do with his life. So at that time, even Hawking also feel that he will go home and enjoy his uh, investigation, or enjoy his innovation what he is doing with the cosmology. Then further, in a sense, Hawking diseases helped him become a noted scientist he is today. Before the diagnosis, Hawking hadn't always focused on his studies. Before my condition was diagnosed, I had been very bored with life, he said. So before the diagnosis, he is doing a multiple things and only focus on his study. But after that, after his condition, he said that he is getting very bored with the life, and he said there had not seemed to be anything worth doing. And with the sudden realization that he might not even live long enough to earn his PhD. So he want to complete his PhD, and for that he is realized that his life is not too much that he could complete his PhD. Hawking poured himself into his work and research, and so that he think that his life is very small and he could not complete his PhD before he died. So what he did, he is poured himself into his work, and the research is going on with the with his cosmology. Then, as a physical control over his body diminished, he had been forced to use the wheelchair by 1969. Now he have lose his full control of his body, and after that he is forced to use the wheelchair in 1969. The effect of his disease started to slow down and over slow down. That is, his all the body movements are slow down. Over time, however, Hawking's ever expanding career was accompanied by an ever worsening physical state, and now he is with the ever worsening physical state, uh, that is accompanied means to go somewhere with us accompany, so that now he is in a very dangerous physical state that he could not move his body smoothly. Then, by the mid 1970s, the Hawking family had taken in one of the Hawking graduate students to help manage his care and work. So, whatever the research is going on by Hawking's family have hired one graduate student to help and manage his work, whatever he is doing. He could still feed himself and get out of a bed, but virtually everything else required assistance. So now he can have his lunch and dinner with himself and go to bed, but for virtual things, for other things, he required assistance. In addition, his speech had become increasingly slurred, and so that only those who knew him well could understand him. So now his speech become very slurred. He cannot talk fluently like we are, and so that the person who knows him well, his speech knows him well, only could understand his language. So that in 1985 he lost his voice for a good following a tractonomy. So in 1970 he have lost his voice also, and because of that he cannot talk. Tractonomy means an incision in the windpipe made to relieve an obstruction to breathing. So that after that, instead of following his voice, it is good to following his tractonomy. So incision, that windpipe made the relief of obstruction of breathing. The resulting situation required 24 hours nursing care for the acclaimed physicist. So now he required the nursing because he cannot move now. It also put in peril Hawking's ability. Peril means the serious or immediate dangers to do his work. The predicament caught the attention of a California's computer programmer. Predicament means a difficult situation. So, this difficult situation caught by the California's computer programmer who had developed a speaking program that could be directed by head or eye movement. So he have developed one speaking program that could directed by the head or the eye movement. The invention allowed Hawking to select words on a computer screen that were then pass through a speech synthesizer. So after that, through these instruments, the Stephen Hawking can select the word what he want to talk, and that pass through the speech synthesizer. At the time of its introduction, Hawking, who still had use of his finger to select his word with the handle clicker. Today, with virtually all control of his body gone, Hawking direct the program through a cheek muscle attached to a sensor. Sensor means a device which detect or measure a physical property and records. So before that he is selecting the word with his finger, but now it is not possible for Hawkins. Now he cannot move his body, and he have lost his control on his body, so that Hawking directed the program through the cheek muscle attached to a sensor. Imagine that, how anybody can talk with the cheek muscles. How he's moving a cheek muscle in the direction to talk. So through the program and the help of assistants, Stephen Hawking has continued to write at a prolific rate. His work has included numerous scientific papers, of course, but also information for non-scientific community. So he have written so many papers and numerous scientific paper through the this program, and so many information, but sometimes it is non-scientific community also. Hawking's health, of course, remained a constant concern, a worry that was heightened in 2009 when he failed to appear at a conference in Arizona because of the chest infection. Okay, so he could not attend the 2009 conference in Arizona. He cannot attend because of his health problem. Then in April, Hawking, who had already announced he was retiring after 30 years from the post of Lucasian professor of mathematics at the Cambridge, was rushed to the hospital from being what university official described as a gravely ill. Okay, gravely ill means he cannot attend it, and so that he is taking his retirement of a professorship from the Cambridge University. He is working as a location for professor of mathematics, but now he is taking retirement, and the university is officially described that is gravely ill means now he could die in any minute. It was later announced that he was expect to make a full recovery, and then also they were expect to make the full recovery of Stephen Hawking, and he have also not lose his hope that he could recover from this diseases. So in this way we can learn that how the Stephen Hawking struggling with his life. Now let's summarize this lesson. We'll start from the early life. Stephen Hawking was born on January 8, 1942. Before the diagnosis, he was an average student and got very poor grade fighting with ALS. When he was 21, Stephen started tripping, dropping items, and his speech became unclear. After a series of tests, doctor concluded that Stephen was suffering from ALS, that is amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a disease which paralyzed him and required a speech synthesizer generating device to communicate. He, with the help of his friend, worked very hard to earn his PhD. Then we'll talk about the famous work. This lesson also highlights the great work of his theory from his book, his bestseller, A Brief History of Time, which was the short informative book and cosmology. A briefer history in time and the universe is in a nutshell. The grand design even proved a great success which challenged Sir Isaac Newton's belief that universe had to have been designed by the God. Then later we will talk about the Hawking's health. Hawking's health remained and constant concern. The physical control over his body and diminished, and he was forced to use a wheelchair. He lost his voice and also lost virtual control of his body except his cheek muscles. Then now if we'll talk about today's life of Stephen Hawking, then he is a physicist, cosmologist, author, and director of research at the Center of Theoretical Cosmology of Cambridge University. He is an honorary fellow of a Royal Society of Arts. And if we'll see that he is a living legend for all the students, those who are continued with his scientific research. Since 2009, Stephen has been completely paralyzed, but through a speaking program and with the help of his assistant, he still writes and gives several scientific lectures. So he never, it is say never say attitude, and we will learn this attitude from Stephen Hawking that at the last moment of our life we have to do work whatever we want. He have kept on researching on cosmology and physicist, and he is being a director of a research center of theoretical cosmology of Cambridge University. So in this way he have done a lot of progress in his work, and I think we should learn that the physical capacity is not the barriers of your aim. So I hope all of you understood this lesson. Thank you, students. Thank you very much. Stay home, stay safe.